Hello there. A new report from Make UK says that if the UK manufacturing sector wants to drive itself towards a recovery that is both strong and provides a platform for future prosperity, then it's going to have to sort out its attitudes towards gender and ethnic diversity. So here are some of the key findings. 67% of manufacturers already have an equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, or a planning one. Almost half of them actually review that strategy every year. Just 2% of manufacturers' average workforce age is below 30. 18% of the UK manufacturing workforce is BAME, that's Black, Asian and minority ethnic, but they only represent 5% of board level positions. Women make up 29% of the manufacturing workforce, but only 18% of company boards. And generally, BAME and women largely occupy administration and clerical roles. One of the companies cited in the report is Surrey-based G&B Electronics. Their managing director is Laura McBrown, and she joins me now. Laura, how did you become managing director of your company?
Well, I started here, my father's company, about just over 20 years ago. And at the time, I'd been made redundant from another role and wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to take. And so I came, like Bank of Mum and Dad, came home, Dad, things aren't working out for me. Can I have a job? And so I joined the company sort of doing admin, and I hadn't really understood how fascinating manufacturing was in any of my lifetime up until that point. And I think once I got involved in the business and I started to understand the creativity behind what really it takes to manufacture products, that's when I sort of got hooked, really. So despite it sort of originally being a temporary arrangement, I ended up staying within the company. I did electronic engineering as a day release student, and then some institute director type courses to sort of help me sort of build the skill set that I would need to run the business. And then it was just a case of trying to convince my dad to leave, honestly.
So if it wasn't for that family connection and you happening upon the fascination of manufacturing, do you have any confidence that a woman would be MD at G&B Electronics today?
I think it's unlikely, in all honesty. What would have happened to the company had my sister and myself not sort of stepped up to the plate to take it on? I think sadly it probably would have just been sold and broken into parts, and it wouldn't really even be here anymore. So I think, and I think that is terribly sad with a lot of SME type businesses in our sector. There isn't necessarily the succession planning that there needs to be to sort of carry it on to the next generation.
Before we talk about what's going on at G&B today, just what's it been like as a senior person in manufacturing, but as a woman, having to deal with some very significant clients? Has it been difficult, easy? Just tell us what your experience has been.
So I suppose it's a mixture. On the whole, I've found everybody in our industry to be very polite, very professional, and very accepting of the fact that women can do this job as well as men. And and a lot of them appreciate the diversity. I think in some cases it's certainly helped us as a business. In other cases, I'm aware that if my face doesn't fit, that can equally hold us back. So I think in equal measures, it's sort of helped and hindered. I think that often it's a bit of a surprise to people, but I don't think that is necessarily their fault. I think that is a result of the fact that not enough women are in my role, and so therefore we just have the unconscious bias. It's just not expected, so it is always a little bit of an eyebrow raiser when I explain that I am the MD of the business, and I've been doing it for a number of years, and we have such great sort of diversity figures. So it's just a bit surprising for people, but I think that's where it comes down to us women to sort of step up and stake our claim in the industry.
Well, Tell us about your company and about where women work in the company, what kind of roles they have.
So the company is a subcontract manufacturer of electronic products. So we do printed circuit board assembly and electronic box build as a manufacturing service. We do a lot in the medical sector, aerospace, high-end audio products, but a sort of mixture of everything, really. Not a lot of commercial. We tend to specialise where, quality and attention to detail and paperwork, paper trails are key to, our customers' success. So as a business, we are 50-50 men and women within the business, and our leadership team is also 50-50 women and men. We sort of got diversity in most of the departments. What you typically find in a business like ours is a lot of the men tend to run the production line machines, pick and place machines, that kind of thing. And a lot of the women tend to do the sort of hand build assembly work, fitting components that can't be fitted by machines. However, we happen to have our machines supervisor for that department is a woman, Michelle. And she's just trained up Chloe, who is, I think she's 18 now, to run a pick and place line. And that department is 75% women, 25% men. So, we're sort of trying to get diversity across all of the departments. And I think that is sort of giving us a great competitive advantage.
I know your sister Kate is HR director. How difficult was it to recruit women into these positions? Because we're actually told that it's difficult to get anybody into a lot of technical positions in the manufacturing sector. And given that women are very much a minority when it comes to those applying for technical jobs, how did you do it?
Yeah, so I think part of it, and I think this is something that women sort of do naturally, is we do rather like to sort of understand the people that we're working with. A lot of time goes into sort of, understanding the skill sets of the people that we've got and what they want to do. And, women's natural attributes is more akin to, doing that kind of investigative work and trying to help, build up people to understand what it is that they want to do and what their aspirations are. I think part of the key with that is that, and I think there's data on it that I'm sure is included in the report, around the fact that women won't go for a job unless they feel they can do 100% of the items on the list, whereas men don't feel that they need to be able to do everything. They'll learn some of it on the job. And I think that is a key point when you're trying to promote women within the business. You need to recognise that actually they think differently about job roles. So there's a certain amount of work that you have to do to sort of say, look, okay, well, I'd like you to put yourself forward for this. And these bits, we know you can do, but these bits will help you train with. And so I think there needs to be that understanding that there is that difference. I know certainly we had an example with a lady that came to work for, we'd interviewed her previously through one of our agencies. And at the time, the role wasn't right for her, but we recognised when another role came up later, that actually she would be quite good in that position. And so we contacted the agency and said, look, if she's still available, would you be kind enough to forward her details and ask her whether she would come in? And she was very much, she'd seen the advert, but had sort of said, no, I'm not, I don't think I can do all of those things. So I don't think it's right for me. So we just said, well, come in and have a coffee and let's just talk it through. And she did. She joined us as one of the team. So I think it is understanding that difference in the way that people sort of respond to opportunities within, the work environment. I think it's, not necessarily just in manufacturing. I think across the board in senior leadership positions, there is just that needed for, someone to push people into things, make them take that next step. And maybe whether that is an HR director that, takes the time out to understand that person and help recognise how they could progress, or their managers. I think there is just a need to recognise the diamonds that we have in our our team, because certainly a lot of the women that we've got working here are ones that, have come up through the ranks themselves and moved into more senior positions because we've sort of provided that opportunity to do that.
And I suppose your response to anybody who says we couldn't possibly do that would be, we did it, why can't you?
Well, absolutely. And I think, the other sort of, the other bit of data that sort of floats around is that, ultimately women are key decision makers in a lot of purchase decisions. Even products marketed to men are normally purchased by women. And most people, when they go to buy a car, will consult with their wife as part of that process. And so if we are going, our businesses ought to reflect the people that buy our products and services. So I think it's key to have diversity, in age, gender, background, all the things that, the diversity and inclusion processes try to champion. And I think that will mean that those businesses will keep up with their target markets.
Laura McBrown of G&B Electronics, demonstrating that where there's a will, there's very much a way. This has been a special report from Manufacturing TV. I'm Nick Peters. Thank you for being with us. See you next time.